But it turns out George Washington had other skills you may not have known about. Here's our Power Player of the Week.
He realized that if he did it, he could make money, and he was the consummate capitalist.
Curtis V. Brantz is president of the Mount Vernon estate, and he's talking about how George Washington got into the distillery business in the last years of his life.
By the time of his death, in 1799, 11,000 gallons were distilled. It was the largest whiskey distillery in the United States.
Mount Vernon now distills and sells rye whiskey, apple, and peach brandy, using the same methods and recipes Washington used.
How much demand is there for your product?
It sells out immediately.
And what's the top price you charge for a bottle of?
The aged rye whiskey we sell for $195 a bottle.
When Washington left the presidency in 1797, his Scottish farm manager said they had the water, crops, and grist mill to start a new business.
Now, as the former general of the Continental Army, as a former president of the United States, did the idea of distilling whiskey give him pause?
It did. I think for him, he was nervous about what sort of a message it might project, what kind of an element it might attract. But ultimately, I think he satisfied himself to the fact that he could control that, but mainly that he could make a lot of money doing it.
After Washington's death, the distillery fell into disrepair and burned down. But 7 years ago, they rebuilt it exactly where it stood. And they make whiskey the same way they did back then.
Now I'm going to take the water.
Right.
Put the water into the barrel.
It is hard work. They put rye and malt and yeast into barrels and let it ferment for 3 days. Then they carry the mash over to the stills to heat it into vapor and turn it eventually into whiskey.
Some of it comes out as water, and some of it comes out in the back as alcohol. And we'll actually distill it twice, and we're testing regularly to see what proof we've got, because we want to make sure we have the right proof of whiskey.
Washington was not a heavy drinker, but there is a famous, if unconfirmed, story of him visiting a fishing club in Philadelphia.
He was invited at one moment to go and to take the fish out punch, and he kept a diary every day. And after having this fish out punch, his diary was empty for 3 days straight. So he would say that it was strong stuff.
There was only one thing left to do: sample some of the peach brandy made at the distillery.
So this is a very valuable bottle, and we're glad to have you here. And
well, thank you. And this is as close to what George Washington drank as you can make it.
Absolutely. And we say huzzah before we drink.
Huzzah?
Huzzah is a Revolutionary War cheer. Like
Huzzah.
Skull, huzzah. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
If you like peach brandy. It was strong stuff. Mount Vernon sells 2,000 bottles a year of whiskey and brandy.